Hello and welcome to Louis Philippe in Pursuit of Excellence. My guest today is one of Indian cinema's finest movie directors, a creative genius, my good friend Mani Ratnam. Mani, good to see you.
My pleasure.
You have, we'll talk about movies in a minute, but your interest in sport outweighs movies to some extent.
I think it starts earlier than the movies does. So,
did you, when you grew up, did you enjoy sport at a young age?
yeah, I think all along, I think if you grow in a city here, especially in Chennai, I mean, sport becomes a part and parcel of the entire thing. When I was growing up, cricket obviously was very big. And then there was rising star, and that's when I started playing tennis. So that became, passion. And so you get exposed to hockey, football, everything, I think.
But, the interesting thing is when we talk about Mani Ratnam and we know about his films and his accolades and awards and all of that, but then I remember hitting tennis balls with you at one Chennai Open one year.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how well you hit the ball. And then I saw you on the golf course and I was surprised at how well you played there.
Tennis, actually, I used to go for coaching at Ramarao's, where I used to see all you three brothers there, coming there for the coaching. So it was good to start with somebody who was really very, really phenomenal teacher of tennis. So golf is like films. It's always elusive. You think you can get a hold of it, but it's always out of your reach.
Is it something that kind of keeps you sort of grounded to play a sport that actually lets your mind go and kind of you're able to relax a lot more?
No, actually, I think it's as obsessive. It doesn't let you relax. It's very similar to any passion that you have, where you really feel that you need to do well. And you think that if you can push yourself, you can reach that far. And you're constantly trying to reach that.
Okay, so let's go to how you started off early in life. And you grew up in a film family. Yeah. And is that something that was inherent in you when you started off? Because at the end of the day, you went to school and eventually went to university, did an MBA and all of that, and finance, and turned out into a director.
Yeah, actually when I grew up, we were not encouraged or even allowed to see films. It was like any middle class house, it was banned. It was not allowed. Only if they decided that you could see a film, they would take you. Otherwise, it was not a... So none of us grew up thinking that we'll take films as a career. You get educated and you think that is. But I think the interest is on your own. You're somewhere exposed to as you grew up to a household where it is being discussed at lunch table. And sometimes you get to listen to the scripts that are being narrated. So you sneak in and sit along with the elders and didn't realize then that I was interested more than my siblings were, And at one point of time when, the opportunity came, after I finished my post-graduation, after I started working, then I thought I should see whether it's a possibility. And that's when I thought I'll take a chance.
But was that passion always there even when you were doing your postgraduate degree?
Actually, I never thought I'll take that as a career at all. I was just interested. I was interested slightly more than the person sitting next to me in the theater. Probably I knew a little more than the guy sitting next to me. That's all. Never thought that will be something which you would end up doing or with you capable of doing. So it was just an accident that pushed me into this.
Interestingly, having grown up in what used to be Madras and now Chennai, of course, that you started your foray in Kannada films.
Yeah.
And then Telugu films.
Yeah. Actually, I would have done it in any language where I got a break. If it was a Chinese movie there, I got a break, I would have done it. A film is a film. The first film, if you get a break, you're not going to bat your eyelid and say, I am sorry, I'm not too sure. No. You just grab it, you're just confident that you can, get into it. And within a South Indian language, not too difficult to move from one to another. So it's more important to be able to tell a story. And that's what, I got my break in a Kannada film.
So when you made your first film, and obviously you learn a lot from your first picture, and you continue to learn as you move along. But were you able to see, post the film being delivered on screen, that these are the changes I could have made, these are the errors I made?
Yeah, I think you do that even till today. Till today, I feel that I can't watch a film that I've made. Once a film is out of my system, I don't really watch the film at all. Because if I see a film that I've finished, after 5 minutes, I can find only mistakes in it. So there will be. I mean, every time you can make it better, you can polish it. It's a never-ending process. So somewhere along the line, you have to draw, the line and say, that's it. You have to move on.
It's like watching a match that you've lost on television.
I know.
It's the worst feeling. Why did I play that particular shot? I could have done this and so on and so forth. Now, the early films, a lot of the films that you made dealt with relationships.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to me because it's not often that you can sort of bring out that inner feeling, whether it's a couple forced into marriage and then falling in love, or whether it's a couple just running away and getting married and so on and so forth. What made you focus on those kinds of movies of relationships?
I think any movie, whichever scale, wherever it is set, even if it is a science fiction, it still depends on relationships. I think stories are built when it is a relationship, an equation between X and Y, And if it's not, if there is no Y in the film, there's only one character, then it's still a relationship between him and himself. So, I mean, drama comes out only when there is an equation. And all films are essentially, based on relationship, I think. Sometimes it takes a predominant part of the film, and in some films, the other things takes predominant part.
When you look at a story, when you look at a script, what sort of induces you to say, yes, this is the film I want to make?
Actually, unfortunately, in Tamil predominantly, we don't have specialized script writers, So if you want to make a film, you better learn to write, So you do your own writing, in which case it is not a script that, say that I want to make a film, it's an idea. Somewhere some thought comes to you and say that maybe this could be a film. And it might turn into a script soon, or it might be like that for 3-4 years, and then one day you might be able to sit on it and work on it. And even when you work on it, sometimes it falls into place fully. Otherwise, you get stuck somewhere, so you leave it behind, get on to somewhere else, some other movie. So it's a process. It's just sometimes it has no rationale. Sometimes it just flows and comes out very, very well straight away. And sometimes it takes years and still doesn't fall into place.
Interesting, because when you're making the film, would you like making changes as you go along with the story itself?
I don't think what is written is a dictum. It is not sacrosanct that you have to make it alive. What is written on a table in a room, in a cold environment. But when you put actors into it and you have natural light or lit atmosphere that is created, then it has to come alive. So there will be room for improvisation, room for it to grow, for it to breathe. I think that is what a director is paid for, to make it come alive. But if you ask me whether I'll drastically change from what has been written, sketched out for a period of time, no, I don't think so. It won't change drastically. It'll be within that. We'll just try to elevate it or make it alive.
What about working with your performers, with the actors themselves? Do you give them a pretty open space? Do they write their own sort of feel about the character? Do you guide them into the way they should play the role?
Finally, it is the actors who have to perform. How much ever you brief them, how much ever you talk to them, how much ever you try to, do whatever you can do to them, it's fine, they have to deliver. So, and there's no one particular method of getting work out of actors. Actors are different people. So you have to do different things to get what is best out of them, And ideally what I work at is to make sure that the actor invests a lot of himself into the character. I mean, I think I always tell them it's the two of us together have to find this character, So what is written, but from that we have to make it alive, and he has to make it his own. And so to that extent, if he's not comfortable with the way a line is flowing, then we'll try to see which is the way it will convey that and how will it affect whatever is coming out later. So I try to pull them in as much as possible, but essentially, they need to put themselves in, they should become the character that they're playing.
When you cast a film and you look at the characters in it, and let's say you've written the film and you've obviously got the screenplay done and so on, and you see the cast of characters, especially the leads and even the smaller roles, do you have someone in mind right off the bat, or do you write it for with people in mind?
No, actually, you normally don't have a face in mind when you start writing, but if halfway through, if you're able to see somebody into that role, and if you're able to talk to that person and he's equally keen, and if it kind of gets locked in, then it's easier to have a face as you polish it further. But initially you just write a story, you write characters out of the thing, and then see whether it is right for a particular person, and whether he will be comfortable doing these kind of things.
The question I've always had for filmmakers is, you look at a female lead, you look at a male lead, and you say, this person is perfect for this lead, and this person is perfect for this lead, and there's no chemistry on screen.
Yeah. That's your trouble. You've done a big mistake, buddy.
It happens, right?
Yeah, you've made a big mistake. You have to find a way out, that's all. You have to. I mean, invariably, I think if the writing is good, half of it is there in the paper. The interaction should bring it out. It is not just that. It is not just the actor's problem. It is in the right. If the chemistry is not there, then it is not there in the writing, also. So you have to. If there is enough juice in the writing between these two characters, then however alienated they might be, this could bind them. The writing could bind them. So I think if it is not working, then the 50% of the blame or more is yours. So, you have to find a quick solution at somebody else's cost. Money's time is ticking. So you have to find a way out.
Now, when you're in a film, and obviously production, there's pre-production, there's weeks and weeks and weeks of pre-production, then you get into the actual making of the picture, which is principal photography, and then the post-production. If you've shot 8 weeks or 6 weeks of production, and you go into the edit room, and then you're looking at the footage that you have you ever faced a situation where you think you don't have enough?
Invariably, we have faced situations where we think we have too much, where we have length is longer than what we can afford to hold, and very rarely do you feel that you need to do something more to set it right. I think I've nearly done 23, 24 films, maybe once or twice I would have had that problem.
A very important factor in a film is the music.
Yeah.
And how it kind of inspires you to enjoy the film a lot more. Your work with the great Ilayaraja in music, how does a combination like that come together? How do you get feel for each other?
Yeah. I think in Indian music and in Indian films, music is very, very important. It's a parallel narration practically. It sets a mood and sets a tone, and it's our first output in the sense before the film comes, the music releases invariably and gives the audience an idea of what kind of film to expect. So it's very important to get that right. And Ilayaraja is just a genius, just an amazing, amazing composer. I mean, he's so prolific and he's so fast. So you have to be on your toes and be clear as to what you want. Because as soon as you finish saying what you want, he would come out with it, And if you think that you need some other thing, you have to think of something else quickly before he finishes the tune to push him into the next one. So he's so good, and it's such a strength to have, strong technicians, and especially a strong composer with you, and with whom you kind of have to just tell the kind of film that you're making, the tone that you're looking for, and he gives you something which is way beyond what you think.
We mentioned the wonderful A R Rahman. He has been a guest on our show. A genius, of course, again in the music business. Now, again, starting with someone like that, and then working closely with him thereafter, and realizing his genius, takes some work of your own to be able to combine it together. For me, the analogy always comes back to tennis, where it's easy to say, oh, can you play doubles with this guy? Can you play doubles with that guy? And then you can see them both working well together. Yeah. How did that work for you with AR?
Yeah, it's quite amazing in the sense that the first time I heard a kind of a scratch tune that he had done, it just blew me away. I mean, here was this kid. He was what, 23, 24 at that time. You know, he had a studio in his almost what is like a car shed, you know, converted into a studio. Whereas I had been used to this big, huge Prasad Studios recording, and he was producing from this place music which was really world class. You know, and the sound was so good, and so I had to listen to it several times to see whether I'm getting, you know, convinced by the sound of it or by the tune of it. So I had to, you know, kind of subtract all the finish that he was giving and just look at the bass and see whether it is working for me on that level. But it was. I mean, I think he, you know, he's grown a lot from that time, but he's also remained the same. He was that good even when he was 24, you know. So it was not, I mean, you hear it once, you will definitely know that this guy will be very good.
Was there an inspiration that you brought to the table here, obviously, with a young A R Rahman, to be able to, for him to be able to create the kind of wonderful music for your films?
Yeah, I think we're both looking for something which were, you know, kind of, which would set a tone for a film. I was looking only at my film. He was looking at, you know, entire music scene. So, and it kind of matched what we were looking for. We were searching for something, and, you know, something which would be break a few grounds, you know, help to, because the kind of film that we first were doing together was a film called Roja, and it was set in you know, the northernmost part of India and linking to southern tip of India. So it had that kind of a breadth to it, and it had a new, you know, I mean, we are dealing with an issue which was not generally dealt at that time in films, which in mainstream films. We are dealing with terrorism and, you know, and a common man against a terrorist, you know. So we needed a tone which would be unique, and he was ready to try something like that.
Your films about Kashmir and war and terrorism and the Hindu-Muslim conflict, are these subject matters that you thought about wanting to make? Did you feel a story of this had to be told? Were you worried about making films like this?
Actually, I didn't think I was worried about making films like this. It was happening around us. It was, you know, it was the time in your life, an age where things that matter to you, things that concerns you, it was at that time, and it was happening all around us. And if you could find a story in which you could narrate this, then it was, you know, I mean, it had a calling. Roja, for example, you know, happened because there was this lady who had written an open letter in the newspaper addressing to the terrorists, asking them to release her husband. You know, I mean, it was actually the content of the letter is what started the film. So it was happening around us, you know, and so if you can make a film which can talk about it, then, you know, it should be what was relevant at that point of time.
When you make a film and the movie doesn't do what you expect, be it commercial success or be it critical acclaim or whatever it is, how is the recovery? It's almost like, again, drawing the analogy, you know, you have a couple of match points, you end up losing the match. You know, how do you recover from it very quickly? Is that something you teach yourself? Is there a disappointment constantly? Do you recover quickly?
Yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, we had a golf tournament yesterday and today, you know, 2-day tournament, and yesterday I played well and I was on the leaderboard, and today I played miserably. I shot an awful score. So life's like that. I think it's not that you do anything different, you do it with honesty. Sometimes when you're either in sport or in this one, you know, you're not trying all the time to play safe. You're not trying to, you know, just be within, you know. You're trying to push yourself, you're trying to do things, you're not scared of falling. You might fall once, twice, thrice, but if you're confident that you can get up and run again, then you should keep trying.
In the same token, the reverse of having successes, and you have incredible accolades and awards and all of that, how do you deal with that at that point? Now I'm getting ready for a next picture.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've already hit a very sort of peak with your previous film and great commercial success. What do you do with the next time around?
I think every filmmaker, when he starts a film, he thinks it'll be successful. So it's not a surprise when something is successful. It's not. So you just accept it and move on. You know, you don't, You don't have to take people telling this literally. You believed in it all the time. You believe that you are good, you are capable of doing this, you're capable of doing real quality work. That's what you believe in. And so when it comes your way, you accept it and go on. When you don't deliver is when you have to have strength to get up and run again.
When you made this film, Iruvar, that loosely based on
Yeah.
the two former chief ministers of the state of Tamil Nadu, were you thinking of their careers, both politically and otherwise, and their life story when you were in the process of making this film?
Yeah, I thought of it like a novelization. I mean, it's been done in history again and again. There's several, historical books which are novelization, which are not, biographic, which is not looking at exact details and doing it, but converting it into a novel, into a fictional thing, and using the real life thing as a basis, and taking the essence of the real life and trying to convert it into a fictional story. It was a very important period because I think we've all grown up here in Tamil Nadu, and it is a huge movement, this Dravidian movement that came in, along with the growth of cinema, which was new. I mean, two new elements, a political movement and a new medium that is, each using the other. I think it was a fascinating period, and we've all grown up through that period. So if you don't tell that period, you feel, there's a loss. There is so much it cries to be told, and there's so many other stories of the same period which can be told.
One of your best films has been Nayagan, without a doubt, and with the great Kamal Hassan, and obviously one of the finest actors of our time as well. When both of you came together to make this particular picture, did you know at that point in time, as you were making the film, that you were creating something that was going to be very special?
And we think of it like for each film, we think hopefully that it will be something very special. Yeah, it's just that you had an elbow room because you had a star on board. That's the first time I was doing with a bigger actor, so it gives you a little more leeway in terms of budget. You're able to spend a little to create the period and the atmosphere and all that. And it's always a tremendous relief for a director to have an excellent actor on board. So the burden of the scene is shared. When you have somebody else who can perform, all you have to do is capture it. I never had any doubt as to his ability and what he would bring to the table. We just had to make sure that the character that we have is brought out to its full. That's all.
If you look back and you say the great filmmakers over the years, who would you say one you've admired over the years? Or who have you tried to sort of imitate or follow? Is it Mani Ratnam on his own? Is it creative genius of A, B, or C? Is there someone that you could pick, both domestic and foreign?
If it's, the earliest strong influence that I had, which, marked, it still gives me the target is Kurosawa as a filmmaker, I think. I think the fact that he does in a purely cinematic way, and it's very Asian, it's very close to Indian films, in the sense it's emotional, it doesn't shy away from drama, and still does it with, with a lot of passion to it. And there is a philosophy behind his films. It's not just stories. There is a thought and a philosophy. The way of life is depicted in his films. So I think he's a real master that I've internationally admired. But after that, there have been so many of them that you discover as you go, even the youngsters. I think amongst the Indian filmmakers, I think Gurudutt probably was remarkable. And in Tamil film, probably K. Balachandra was very significant. I think every good film, inspires you. I think influences you. And similarly, every bad film influences you. That's what tells you what you should not be doing. So you learn as much when you grow, as much from a bad film as you learn from a good film. So you're very sure that those are things that should never be done on films. So you should have strong likes and strong dislikes, I think, to be able to be a filmmaker.
You've done many films over the years. You've won awards and accolades. A film of yours was India's representative for the Academy Awards. You've been given an award, of course, by the government of India and so on and so forth. What's next for Mani Ratnam?
The next film. It's like a first film every time. It doesn't change, you know. I mean, you start from scratch and you have no idea how to go about it, and you put it down on paper and then you think, yeah, is it working? So it doesn't change. It really is. And when you go to the first day of shoot, it's just like you go for the first time. And it's not, I'm just not saying it as a statement, it's honest, you know. I mean, every time you have to get up and learn that, you know, to discover this film. It is there in abstract form. You have to find it, shape it, and be able to deliver it.
Finally, what would you say is your defining moment in the pursuit of excellence?
To be honest, is that the last step, you know, at every stage, you know, whether it is professional or otherwise, there's a point at which you can say, yes, that's good. But if you say, that's good, but can we get a little more? You know, that extra step that you take, one extra step that you need to take to reach for something more than just good, more than just settling for the, you know, what is acceptable, but trying for that slightly unknown thing. You know, in every step that you take is really, I think it's not always that you can do it, but whenever you can, you try to do that, and that is what is really, I would say, you know, is that search for that unknown.
Mani, great talking to you. My very best to you and Hasani, and keep playing tennis. Don't get any better, but let's hit sometime.
Yeah, thank you. Lovely. Thank you.
You can also watch this episode online at louisphilippe.com.